Hello and welcome to Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fancast by a fervent fan.
And a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And this is the story Farscape. Oh,
So-
this week it's such a Farscape story.
It's a return. We are back finally. We've been gone for so long. There's been a great hiatus with lots of stories from the past, stories from the uncharted territories and the mythical movie of Krull. It was an amazing Farscape story.
Oh, you liked it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. It's one of my favourites.
Although I did miss Chana, but, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to miss, right?
Yes. I mean, everybody on Moya, basically.
Yep.
No pilot, no...
No Darko, no Chiana,
I mean, it's interesting
no
because
Zahn of blessed memory.
Talyn seems to have a lot more agency than Moya does, although that probably gets translated in things that Pilot does usually than things that Moya does. I mean, Pilot tells us about things that Moya is doing, and we've discussed about this in the past, like half the time that Pilot says, well, Moya says this and that. I think it's just Pilot trying to get his own...
I know, it's like a parent using the other parent as an absentee. Well, your father won't be very pleased, will he?
Yes.
Hey, everyone, we're talking about Season 3, Episode 8.
Green-eyed monster.
Oh.
They went to a planet and it had some rings. The budong dong dong, the budong dong. Yeah. Sorry, I've had that stuck in my head for the entire time while I was watching this episode.
Yes. It's a very famous episode written by Ben Browder all by himself.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
apparently so. He's written a few scripts before. He's written screenplays before.
Okay.
I don't know that any of them have been produced. Mm-hmm. And then he sent a private message to David Kemper whether he could write an episode of Farscape.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, I believe that you get all of the writing credits if less than 10% of it is modified by someone else or something like that. I mean, there's all sorts of rules for that.
I don't know that... I mean, the Screenwriters Guild of America operates in America, but this is an Australian production.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of
But
that.
it is under the auspices of Sci-Fi Channel, so I don't know for sure whether he'd have a guild card. That's an interesting thought. It was announced during a chat with David Kemper and Ben Browder in attendance, to Ben Browder's complete surprise that it was sort of pre-announced that, and Ben's writing one of the episodes. I am.
Did you greenlight that? You could have told me that. So yes, this week, as our listeners have given us some fantastic synopses again about this episode, Genesis, slamming doors and the silent treatment, psychological warfare and torture, just your typical teenage temper tantrum. Someone needs a timeout so the eye candy can save the day.
Oh, I like that.
But an attempt at murder may torpedo their plans.
Thank you, Jenna. Electromagnetic candy, stolen pulse pistols, and hands going in the wrong puppet hole? Propulsion is taken offline at just the wrong time. Jealousy has 4 interchangeable players in a love triangle in this absolute gem. See what I did there? Well, did you see what they did there?
Gem, green-eyed monster?
Yes! Very good! Of an episode. It's my favourite, says Lucy. Yeah, yours and mine. What a fantastic episode.
And in receiving the hand or a finger of friendship, pain control and manipulation are seen more clearly. Candy and vomit are key in an episode that would make John truly proud. Thank you, Paul Gumley.
Jonah,
sorry.
Jonah, as in Jonah the whale.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I misread that. Yeah. I really need to get my reading glasses on when I'm doing this.
Billy Roberts has got your back. It's John, Na, and the whale when Talyn and crew get swallowed by a space critter. Which one is bigger, as John and Grace argue?
Yes.
And there's jealously from an unlikely source, leaving Stark and Rygel to save the day. Oh, Frel. Thank you, Billy Roberts.
Yeah, and what an episode.
So this was. Let me see that I've got the credits, because it's Ben Browder and Tony Tilse. Yes, Tony Tilse is a veteran of.
I was going to say that name rings a bell.
Yeah, I've started in PK Tech Girl, Durka Returns, The Way We Weren't, The Ugly Truth.
Lots of psychological episodes.
Lots of action as well.
Not true.
Which, I mean, yes, I miss Dargo and Chiana and Zahn and all those relationships, but we get
a lot of Talyn.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We get a lot more than we really understand. Like, he's a character that figures very heavily, but it takes us, as the viewers, a long time to understand just how much agency he has. I mean, you clocked into on that one immediately.
Well, okay, so it opens with a shot of John doing some maintenance, and I immediately got excited because, like, oh, we've got a new type of DRD, until I realized that, oh, wait, of course, Talyn would have different DRDs than Moya does.
Yeah.
So, but it's a fancy little one. He's got, like, this, like, multifaceted extra skeleton. Well, carapace. That's what I'm looking at. And like lots of these little fingers, and they really went overboard on giving him a bunch of tools that it's working with.
They really did.
Yeah.
The creature department, they sort of looked at it. Okay, so no new aliens? Well, yeah, but we're going to make it CGI. All right, cool. Any cool devices? Now, a hand of friendship, but we've done that before. We'll just
make
have
it smaller.
Jeff.
Yeah,
we'll just have Jeff hold it through the
keep
mist
his
again.
hand out of screen this time.
Yes, Jeff. Okay, then what are we going to do? I don't know, DRDs? I got you, fam.
Yeah.
Like I love these because carapace is the right word. It has a sort of like cyborg beetle kind of look to it.
That's what, especially this one. Like Moya's are a bit more rounded and a little bit more. I wouldn't call them cuddly, but they look like kind of like curling stones with a couple of extra things on these. These look much more like ladybirds. With that, they're kind of missing the spots, but they do have the various segments: the black front side and then the red back.
They've got some like aphid silhouettes to them as well, but yes, much more mechanical, much more militaristic as well.
Lots of sparkly blue things.
Yes, because one of them just happens to be doing some repairs over John's head, just distracting him, which is apparently a problem that he's been dealing with for a while.
Yes, John is getting a bit of the cold shoulder from Talyn, it seems. This is a theme that's running through the beginning of the show quite strongly.
Well, did you know it was Talyn?
To me, it felt like, and I would still say that it was Talyn. It's just that later we learn how it came to that. But yeah, to me, it felt very early onward, it started feeling like it was Talyn.
So you weren't on board with John's theory that it was Crace who was manipulating and using Talyn? And
a little bit.
Really?
But
how did you get there?
Okay. So in the beginning, I was fairly ambiguous about it. It could have been Crace. But as soon as we get the scene later on where John finds the USB stick, from that point on, it was very clear that it was Talyn.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Up until that point, it could have gone either way. Maybe I'm like backward projecting here a little bit.
Well, we are genre aware.
I know,
gentlemen, at this point. So
you get the feeling quite early on because Crace doesn't act smug or superior towards John when John goes to the bridge and goes complaining at him. He's more like sighing and dismissive and like, Talyn, tell the DRDs to go look for the pistol, which he seems to have misplaced. But
he's an underminer.
He doesn't say it in a way that he is like gaslighting John. He says it in a way that he's like, okay, I'll indulge him.
Where's Winona?
What?
Winona.
His post pistol.
My gun.
Talyn, in addition to their current duties, please have the DRDs keep an eye out for Mr. Crichton's pulse weapon. He seems to have mislaid it. Will there be anything else?
It's interesting because I could read it both ways, honestly.
Maybe my opinion is coloured by the things that happen later in the episode.
Of course. But if this had been Crace, if Crace had both been responsible for the vanishing of Winona, which was the straw that broke the camel's back for John, and treated him like that, calling him, relax, John. Oh, Mr. Crichton, then.
Yeah.
If he'd done both of those things, he'd be the worst asshole. He'd be worse than Scorpius.
True, but I mean,
you can do one or the other.
But in the past, it doesn't seem to be in character for him to do it like this. It's like his demeanor would have been meaner and not like he's not the type to be the underhanded, passive-aggressive bullshitter type. So that therefore I'd say that it's like you can argue that it's like not within.
We haven't seen him being petty.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yes,
right.
He's not. He can be vindictive. He can be mean. He can be murderous. But yes, he's not petty. I suppose that's a very good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah, this episode spawned a lot of discussion. I read one of the reviews or one of the recaps from way back in the day who talked about that they watched this episode really critically because it's a fan favorite. It's almost universally beloved, and it was written by the
man
lead.
himself, yes.
Yeah, and so they watched it with a very critical eye, looking for like plot holes and gaps and oversights and like not to be swept away by the extremely high expectations. But it lives up to those expectations incredibly.
Yeah.
The narrative is incredibly tied to the respect for the characters, their relationships, and the audience. It's a love triangle with 4 players. And the direction really lives up to it as well. Like the first shot we see of Crace is of the Hand of Friendship, the neural link and implant.
He also looks constipated in that first scene. I don't know. He does not look well. It's like... They're dealing with Talyn being partially offline. Aaron has been taken charge and brought navigation offline and done a few other things to soothe him because he is still not particularly well. I mean, he did another starburst based on minimal power levels. So, yeah, he's still not quite doing particularly well.
Oh, poor Talyn. Crace is full of praise. Recognize that Aaron has intuitive understanding.
Very elegant. You seem to have an intuitive grasp of Talyn's subsystems.
But he is doing it in one of those good guy kind of ways, you know?
Right?
He is way too, look at me telling you all the things you've been doing well.
Oh gosh, you're so good at that.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little bit slimy.
Obviously there's a pretty sort of bad relationship dynamic that's being represented here, but it's also sort of like a parent who finally convinced their child to like do a chore, mow the lawn, and then effusively praising them. Oh, you're so good at mowing the lawn. Okay,
right.
you could do this every week, you know.
Ooh, interesting. Yes, I see where you're coming from. But he's like also still trying to recruit Aaron.
Aaron, I think, is also fantastic in this episode. She's pure business. No, that's not even fair.
No.
She's not being swept away by anyone's emotional hang-ups. She's very centered. That's what I'm looking for. She's centered, but she's still open to everyone's emotional shit. She's just trying to understand it, and it's very difficult to understand where Crace and John are coming from, because neither of them are communicating. Hey, Aaron, this is what it feels like when someone doesn't communicate their feelings to you, yeah? You do this all the time.
Learn from it, yes.
Sucks, doesn't it?
John finally manages to get his way on the bridge. We have the little exchange about missing Winona. And then it turns out that they are skimming along the disk of a planet with a accretion disk. Rings. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes, rings.
Yes. Because there's a beautiful moment, a beautiful dramatic culmination where John and Crace are sort of facing off against each other, and we see Aaron between them saying,
Talyn, you've seen them both naked. Perhaps you can tell us who's bigger.
Yes. And is there anything else you would like Crace snipping the ass and going like, yeah, can you like lean left a little bit and avoid that planet over there? And they're like, planet? There's not supposed to be a planet here.
It's not a planet.
Well, no.
It's a moon.
Right.
Right, do you remember how proud you were?
I know, I got that, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I was like still hung up on the fact that like it's obviously that it's not a moon because like you don't get moons within rings. I mean, you kind of do, but they're like tiny and not on this scale.
Yeah.
I believe that some of the gaps in the Saturn's rings are caused by a little moonlet, which is like sweeping around them.
Yeah.
Clearing up that area.
I guess you could have a bigger one.
But yeah, this is like, okay, so I'm going to get this off my chest right now.
Okay, go ahead.
These rings are treated like they are some sort of sea surface. Because you can just see the bump of the budong, and then it jumps out and it crashes back in, and it's like clearly meant to look like this creature is coming, and that is not how the fuck it works in space.
Okay. And this is because...
also, those rings are maybe about 50 meters thick on Saturn, I believe.
Jupiter's even... They're 20 meters thick.
Yeah, they're thin.
So they're very, very sparse. It's okay, so these rings are mostly ice, so they're refracting the sunlight, which is always coming from a great angle. It's just
it's gorgeous. I'm not saying that. But like the way the budong keeps jumping out of them like it's a great white shark trying to nom on, maybe I should say white whale, I should possibly call it.
Oh, I like that too.
Because staying with the Jonas theme. But yes, Talyn gets gold up. I think it even happens right before the intro, isn't it? Before the credits.
Oh, yeah. Because John, like everybody says, well, wait, no. Our orbit is clear of any of the moons. What could that be? How is it off of our scanners? And then John says...
That's no moon.
That's no moon, yes.
Which you had written down before he said it.
I already had it on paper, yes.
And we go to the credits just as we see our very first live budong.
Yes.
Spacefaring megafauna.
Which apparently is quite a rarity. Apparently live budongs are rarer than dead budongs.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, live budongs are exceedingly rare. I guess he meant to say live budong sightings.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Because dead ones can't sort of escape.
They can't get away. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, lots of gorgeous shots from Talyn. We get treated to a lot more Talyn sets. Up to until now, it has been command.
Yes, the
That's
command.
It. Yeah. that's all we've seen of Talyn other than outside shots. Now there's a few corridors, an airlock, there is
bedroom-ish, which is sort of a bunk in a hallway, which is very militaristic kind of.
But also the captain's quarters.
Oh, yes.
Which I noticed have already been decorated in Peacekeeper regalia, even though the factory is broken with that. Let's assume that was programmed into Talyn when he was born, that he was made to look like a Peacekeeper ship, and that's not an active choice that Crais has made to redecorate as a Peacekeeper.
Oh, you're actually, like, that just inspired me. Maybe it's an active choice that Talyn made.
Yeah.
Right? Talyn still feels some pride toward peacekeepers. He doesn't know what it means to be a peacekeeper. He knows that he is one. And I'm trying to think of a metaphor here. Maybe as a teenager, when you discover you have ancestry from a nation that you didn't previously know, a grandparent or great-grandparent who turned out to be one, and suddenly you have this sort of romantic connection that now you feel, so I'm part Vietnamese or, Siberian or Zimbabwean. And you spend 2 hours Googling Zimbabwean or Siberian culture, and then you sort of drape some blankets over your head in the Siberian style or whatever, and suddenly you're like this super tryhard like Worf from the next generation.
Yes.
Who cosplays a Klingon as well as he can.
Yes, because that's all the connection he has to it, yeah.
So maybe this is Talyn, who's like a teenager decorating his bedroom, except it's your bedroom because he's the bedroom.
Right, he is the bedroom. Oh, okay.
Oh no. Oh no, that's troubling.
Oh, so turns out they have been swallowed by the budong and they are now moving down its gullet, and there's a quick consensus reached that they need to weigh out the sea anchor and slow down their transport down towards the budong's stomach.
Getting toward that consensus is kind of tricky. Like, Talyn's panicking. Crais is yelling at Talyn to calm down. Aeryn butts in, and she really succeeds in talking Talyn down. She tells him to focus on one point, tune everything else out, focus, and then your emotions will be stabilized. Crais initially dismisses John's sort of inane prattle. Like, John even asks for, get us a situational hologram, and Crais says, no need, I'm fully tied in. I can see everything. Right. I'm the captain of the ship. Why would anybody else need to see what the situation is?
Yeah.
And it's Aeryn who observes that, no, John is right. And this is a moment that I really like. John's assessment of the situation is correct. Aeryn tells Crais that.
Budong,
you will limit your remarks to something useful.
No, Crais.
Or what?
He's right. John is right.
Drop anchor.
Anchor.
Yes, anchor.
No, Talyn. But only slightly stupid. It might buy us time.
And then Crais turns to John and says, proceed, elaborate.
Yeah.
He's very deferent in this. Earlier on, he also says to Aeryn, Officer Sun, what are our options?
Yes. He again, there's like another thing. Like, he keeps calling her Officer Sun.
She even calls him Sir at one point.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But he immediately reacted to that as well. For someone who's not a peacekeeper anymore, I mean, I guess it's just old habits die hard. But
yeah, or maybe it's a little bit like your second day at primary school and you call the teacher Mom.
I don't think I've ever done that, but I can.
No, but I can totally get it. A woman in a position of authority. What's the word for that? Well,
Mom, yeah.
Yeah.
So first John and then Aeryn goes after him, goes running towards the airlock where they prepare some missiles that they apparently had, and they attach some cables to them, and there's a little bit of blah-de-blah going on. And okay, so this is where the first point where it starts to become where I thought it was Talyn who was messing with him, definitely, because John is trying to connect the cables to these external hooks, and they kind of snap at him every time.
Oh, yes.
And it's clearly not Crais who's doing that.
Yes. There wouldn't be a reason for Crais to do that. Oh, yeah.
So this is just like Talyn nipping at his fingers, basically.
What? No, you're right. I love that. See, I wasn't paying enough attention to all that stuff to notice it, because I was just looking at, whoa, they got really sexy spacesuits suddenly.
Oh, yes. The little white line jumpsuits. That was like, oh my God, those are amazing. Yes.
And they're nearly skin tight. Like, finding that right balance between still dressing your protagonist in skin tight black leather, but also making their silhouettes visible in space. Beautiful. So I think those are retroflective stripes, because you see how incredibly bright they are sometimes.
That makes sense, yeah.
So all you'd have to do is like put a little ring light around the lens, not enough to even illuminate anybody's face,
but more than enough to like shoot out those,
like
to make those reflects.
Strips.
Yeah, totally. So I thought this was a bit of a weak scene where they're like trying to anchor the ship because there's a wall here somewhere. We can't see the wall. Oh, there it is. Crash. And it seemed a little bit of like trying to create dramatic tension, which for me didn't really work.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like I think I remember that being the case for me as well in my first watch.
Put some bloody floodlights out there. I mean, doesn't Talyn have external lights?
Coulda, woulda, shoulda brought a flashlight.
To be honest, like, alternatively, you get the other type of scene, which is overdone in sci-fi, which is like, oh, we're flying through these guts, and we can see perfectly well all the wrinkles and indentations of this creature's gullet. But I think they went a little bit too far the other way here.
Me, I kind of loved it. Like, not knowing where they are is kind of the thing. So they're shooting blind, and they're trying to also, like, properly respecting the scale of a spaceship and space travel and the speed at which you have to move to get anywhere and how dangerous that can be. And, you know, you have 2 seconds between the moment where you can see something and crashing into it.
Well, presumably, like, Talyn is still adrift, and all of the movement we're seeing is just the budong's esophagus working and doing its thing. Or apparently he's got some sort of electromagnetic peristaltic motion going on. At least that's what I got from the...
very good. They're being dragged by EM...
Yes.
Gravitational eddies. I liked it was a repeated shot a few times of the sort of anchor cable being dragged away. They had a proper roadie roll that they laid it out in. They laid it out like you would a harpoon cable from a whale hunter. Oh, is that the imagery?
Yeah, I think that's what they were...
not nearly so cool.
But they finally managed to shoot off their 2 torpedoes and anchor them to the ship, which slows their movement through the budong's gullet.
John's idea to do 2.
Yes. Cut to the shuttle, the pod, which has Stark and Rygel on it, who have apparently been doing some sort of errand, which, of course,
Recon?
Because Rygel does something, and therefore, like, everybody should be eternally grateful that he's doing anything at all, because it's fucking Rygel.
After all I've done for them.
And Stark, who's in this wonderful manic phase that I really, really enjoy.
That lump is a budong.
What are you doing?
Shutting everything down.
Stop being a wellnitz. We could just fly round it. Budongs are harmless, aren't they?
They're a frelling shipping hazard. Our ship's energy fields make us electromagnetic candy.
I mean, I thought both of them were kind of cliche-ish.
Yes. No, I'm completely with you.
They were both very much their own cliche in this episode.
Playing to type.
Right.
Yeah, they were
enough.
stereotypes of themselves.
Because Rygel was either trying to make his cowardly escape or puking on people, I suppose. Specifically on Stark, yes.
Rygel doesn't move an inch. He sits in that seat and he doesn't move.
No, that's right. I mean, like, Stark kind of snuggles up to him at one point, and it becomes a bit of a, like, cozy moment where Stark is reaching over his shoulders to work the controls from behind. That sounds so wrong.
Cue Aaron back on the command, rejoining Crace, who, I mean, they have a bit of an intimate conversation. Like, the heat's been turned on, so she takes off the top of her skimpy little space suit.
Yes, and Crace wants to show her something and also starts taking the clothes off, and we're just like, okay, is this where it's going?
It's warm in here.
Aaron, there's something we need to discuss.
Crichton will be up here shortly.
What we have to discuss does not concern him. I have engaged privacy mode and I wish to speak solely with you.
Although Aaron doesn't seem to be particularly impressed. And this is where we get the scene where, okay, so this is another thing I know. Just like,
yes,
Talyn does a lot of messing with the comms during this episode.
Yeah.
And not just like blocking comms when it suits him, but also imitating people.
Yeah,
impersonating. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for.
Because John's on his way to the command, trying to get the door open, and then he hears what he thinks is Crace, a garbled version of Crace, saying, "Meet me in my quarters." He goes there and no Crace.
Oh, but there's a USB stick on the table.
On a glowing section of the table that's sort of blinking. It's like a video game where you know, an RPG where you walk into a room.
Oh, I really shouldn't, but he immediately does so anyway. And it contains a conversation between Aaron and Crace about when he first asked her to join him.
Yeah, I think that's season 2, episode 1. Take what you want, I won't stop you.
That's literally, I believe, what she says.
You can take what you want and I won't stop you.
And then it's followed with some creative
editing.
Yeah.
Yes. Implying that Aaron and Crace have been recreating together, as Aaron later puts it.
That's the term she's used before.
I know.
That's how, you know, the fluid build-up, release, and the sort of peacekeeper thing. Once again, with Aaron on top, like, cowgirl just seems to be the style for peacekeepers. Good on you.
Yeah, this sends John into a smouldering jealousy, I suppose.
Yes.
He's definitely not enraged, but he's a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of resignation as well. It's like
he's pulling an Aaron. He's turning it all inward.
Yes.
Right? And letting very little out. So he makes his pain hard to understand for other people, and that's just apparently how he deals with it. But he doesn't lash out.
No. In fact, he goes to the bridge and he starts talking to Aaron and Grace, and he's like extremely, not even passive-aggressive, just passive about it. It's like he doesn't...
That's brilliant, yes.
Yeah.
Because he walks in on them as they're sweating and they're zipping their jumpers back up.
Yes. And they've been talking about some important things that they've decided.
That they quickly change the subject, and I'll tell you later.
And he's just like, oh no, everything's fine. Like, you guys do whatever you want.
Okay, so I really love Tony Tilse's direction, which I get to appreciate a lot more because of these gifs. We now have another shot with Aaron and Grace standing next to each other, and John sort of in the middle, and the distance between them like this.
Yes.
But these shots always occur on the command. So it looks like there's a triangle between them, but overhead is Talyn.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I noticed that. This is several times the overhead thing which is brought into view, which is this red panel with these blotches on it, which is apparently representing Talyn, and Aaron zaps it later, so maybe it's his brain node or whatever it is. This is Moya. We never saw something like that on Moya.
She has a neural nexus. It's a much larger organ.
Right, yeah.
But Talyn is part peacekeeper, a spaceship, so it would be
so they
more
have to have like a part on the bridge where the commanding officer can shoot him if he needs to.
Ugh. I mean, it's tricky because Talyn does have weapons on his command as well.
Yes, he does.
I remember the first time that she walked into Talyn's command, and she stood under that, but she kneeled down and she spoke to the floor.
Yes.
So it seems like that whole ceiling and floor, or just an interface point. It's like, it's basically like your face, right? Yeah. Like a cat or a dog can recognize where your face is, and that's the part that you talk into.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a scene where we get a gorgeous shot of the suits.
They're walking through the hallway. They're retroflective. Like, they're such cool suits. Although I can only imagine what it must have been like to wear them, because it does not look like they breathe very well.
It looks like it's nylon or something like that. So there would probably been a lot of
yes, can you imagine?
going on the set.
I once saw a set video of the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where the Cardassians appear.
Yeah.
And they wear uniforms that are supposed to be armor, but they sort of look like pleather upholstery on a plane seat.
Yeah.
And it's just so loud you can't even hear each other.
Wow.
Just imagine the crinkling here, and just the crinkling and the stinkling.
And the static electricity.
And this is a reversal of Aaron and John's relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
Because she's trying to, I don't understand why you're acting like this.
I want you to stop acting like a dranet.
And it's brilliant.
And he's just being the stoic, not saying anything that Aaron usually does.
Yeah. Like, you and Grace just do whatever. You don't want me there, right?
Yep.
Even forgot to mention this, because Aaron's just informed him that she's decided to accept the hand of friendship.
Right, yes. And but the ship can only have one captain. Well, we drew
Modified
something
it
together, and now we're like, yes, we can. But basically, John tells her to do whatever she bloody well wants.
Because it's always about what you want.
And she ends up doing this little teenage girl run away from the... I mean, the only thing that is missing there is...
that's fair.
No,
I know what you're talking about. That's just like
it looks like it. Like when she just runs away. It's like
slamming the door on their step-parent. No, this is completely earned. He's shut her down. After criticizing her for doing that herself, she's trying to be open to him, and he's constantly rejecting him. Then, like, I don't actually want you around. You're being a complete shit.
Yeah.
There's clearly nothing that I'm capable of doing to that you want me to do right now. So, of course, brilliant.
So at this point in the story, I'm thinking, okay, this is the John that's going to die.
Ooh. I'm pulling the brakes. I'm
putting 100 points on the saying that Talyn John is the one who's going to die, or maybe put on a bus, but he's probably going to die at some point.
Why do you think that?
Because this allows them to explore a lot of antagonism and a lot of dramatic tension and a lot of emotional non-development, which they can then conveniently decide never happened. And of course, it's still going to have an effect on Aaron, but it's not going to have an effect on other John, who is then going to be, what are you so angry at me about? I didn't do anything.
Oh, yeah. Poker face, poker face.
I might change my opinion. I might put some points on the other thing. On the opponent's happening.
Completely welcome to.
Yeah.
I actually really like that. Like your sort of running idea of what's going to happen.
But basically at this point, one of my notes is said like Talyn John is dead. I kind of expected it to happen in this episode, especially towards the exciting bit towards the end.
Oh wow!
But apparently they didn't want to go that far yet.
So were you sort of expecting that? Wait, yes, you made a prediction the last time that you thought it would be this would be resolved nice and quickly, right?
Yes, can't remember how many episodes I put on it, but I did say something about it, that it was going to be resolved fairly quickly. But
oh yeah, I think you said.
So I think there's going to be about half an episode before they manage to meet up again. There's going to be a little bit of back and forth thing. But I do think that they are going to show up again. I'll put $100 on that. That like there's going to be a joining before the end of the next episode.
A reunion. That's right. That's how many episodes you sort of note to self, edit it in, and make it sound.
Make it sound clever. But yeah, so that's therefore definitely towards the end of the episode. That could have gone both ways for me. I did not think that John had plot armor during the exciting part at the end of this episode.
Ooh. See, that's such a
he
brilliant position to be in.
He kind of still has plot armor because they have a backup.
Yeah, but I don't know that I felt it when I watched it for the first time. And what a shame. Because, this is the first time. Yeah, this is the first time that we've seen one John in an episode and he can actually die.
Yes.
He's actually this show, man.
It's not going to affect the long term. You still have Ben Browder, you still have John around. But now you can actually put him in peril. And he might die, he might not. We don't know.
God, imagine how that would have... Oh, we don't have to imagine. We can just read some fanfic that is probably about this. Like, how would that have changed the relationship between Aaron and... Oh, not even Aaron and Crais, Aaron and Talyn.
Oh, that too.
Because if he died, Talyn would have killed him.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, he's the antagonist. He's the... Gosh,
he's a little teenager who's definitely has a favorite parent.
Oh. Yeah. Well, John's kind of a step-parent, right?
Yeah, John is Talyn has affections for Aaron, and Aaron has affections for John. Therefore, John is competition.
Yes. Well, okay. So this is the sort of 9-dimensional love triangle that they're in, because Talyn would not feel that competition toward Crais if Crais and Aaron were, because...
I guess not, because that would be parental pairing he would prefer.
Yeah.
Maybe he prefers stepdad to his, I mean,
he kind of also is a little bit stepdad, so we're rapidly becoming kind of Oedipal here.
Right, very much so.
But hey, feelings are weird, right?
True,
especially for young people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's also a lot of actual plot going on, which I thought was brilliant, because we've remarked before how the Farscape can sort of struggle to deliver the sort of science-y plot or the, in the middle of feelings, dramatic stories. And I didn't feel that here at all. I felt that it was delivered quite well, because the budong has swallowed them. Stark has experience with budongs. He served. He was enslaved.
Right, because one of the things that they've said is we're just going to ride it out. We're just going to pop out the other end and it'll be fine. And when Stark hears about this, Stark goes,
No, you can't. Its stomach is an inferno. Nothing ever comes out of a budong alive.
Oh no, that's really bad idea. Don't do that. No, can't do that.
The stomach is like a furnace and 5,000 clenches. You'll be utterly melted. There'll be nothing but ore.
Yes, there will be a little Talyn nugget coming out the other end of the...
Just a Talyn corn husk.
Oh, God.
Which Talyn overhears, and he does not respond very well to that. He wants to move. He doesn't want to be anchored down.
No, he doesn't like that. So I didn't quite get the scene where Rygel pukes over Stark. I'm not quite sure what triggered that.
Oh, so,
I missed that point.
I guess it did struggle a bit to convey the plot, because I was paying attention to that a lot more than I guess I was to the drama. So, Rygel, surprising absolutely no one, wants to escape and save their own skins.
Yes.
And so Stark tied him up, so he can't do that.
Right. Oh, that's it. Yeah, we have a gagged Rygel. He's tied up with Stark's jockstrap or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure what he used for that.
Yeah, it does. Well, it looks like some kind of spare bra or whatever. And
That's
then
what I said.
to distract him.
Jockstrap could be considered as a mono bra, you know.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Okay.
Sorry. Had a little think there. Back to the episode. Where were we? Oh, yes. He pukes all over Stark, who is astonished at this sort of gel that he gets
Right.
covered in, which is apparently disgusting.
But it does give him an idea.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
after he's cleaned up, yes, it does give him an idea. Rygel is so proud. Oh, I love that trick. Apparently, he can do that whenever he wants.
yeah.
Just throw up a pint of
Stomach
KY?
acid, yeah, whatever it is. It's like unpleasant, apparently, which I can imagine, considering like what he eats and how much of it. But yes.
Aaron receives the hand of friendship.
Oh, yes.
No sign of Jeff this time.
No. Just a little bit of stabity. She takes it quite well. John is not allowed in when it's happening. He's again standing in front of a closed door. He's been kept out of the room.
Yeah, this is after he's changed his mind, because he said he didn't want to be there, and then he changed his
Right,
mind and wanted
yeah.
to be there, and then he can't be there anyway. It's a really intimate moment. Grace and Aaron, they're both kneeling, which is a good brace position, certainly when
Yeah.
you're about to undergo something, but there's a great reverence to it. Like also Grace sort of, are you really sure about this? Because this is
Yeah.
it's a physical and mental union, and it's a very permanent thing as well.
And despite the fact that he clearly wants her to do it, he's still like respecting her. He wants to make sure that she goes into it entirely voluntarily.
Yeah. Something that he's repeated often enough that it's not just a line anymore. He even says, we wanted you to come to this decision on your own, but the necessities of this situation mean that I have to come out and say to you, this is what I want you to do and what I'm hoping for. But through that honesty, he's still respecting her decision. He's just asking her to make it sooner and giving her all the information about it. Yep.
She gets stabbed by the hand of friendship, and we get a few shots, which looks like we're getting some memories from Talyn, because we can see a scene where he's starbursting, and we can see her zooming through corridors, which is a shot that's repeated several other times when she's like trying to mentally find her way around Talyn.
Yes, this is called Tilse vision, named after the director. That was in the script that Ben Browder wrote, and then we'll use Tilse vision to make it clear. And Tony Tilse read it, and I wonder what that is. Well, I'll take an ultra-wide lens and warp the edges and move it really fast on a dolly.
Running around with a Steadicam is what it looks like to me.
Memories is a really good point, because now I'm looking at the GIF. One of them includes a vision of Moya, who is not there. So.
No, yes.
And Erin is elated. She says that Talyn is beyond beautiful.
Yeah, she takes to it very quickly, despite Grace's cautioning that it might take her a while to get attuned to it, because it's going to be harder for her. Because when he linked up with Talyn, he was only a baby, and now he's like a teenager.
He's very willful.
Yeah.
But she has an almost intuitive understanding of Talyn's systems already. Possibly consequence of lingering pilot DNA.
Quite likely. Yeah, that seems like a plausible explanation.
Handy, that DNA. There's
Yeah,
lots of stuff,
isn't it?
doesn't it?
That's come back very helpful a lot of times already. John is walking through the corridor and has a little standoff with the angry DRD, who's just like standing like, grrr. And at this point, I'm like, definitely like, yeah, Talyn does not like John. This is like, that sealed it in for me.
And while John is distracted, Grace is giving Aaron some lessons in how do you operate.
Yeah, think about this, move through the corridor, go to the door, you got to now concentrate on the door, now open it. And then the door opens. And
Yep.
You learn fast.
Now imagine someone who's far away and you want to talk to them.
Ah, yes.
And then the comms open.
And suddenly they can talk to Rygel and Stark again.
Oh, yes. Yes, because through wanting that, she linked the external navigational sensors to which is apparently not an easy thing to do, but...
Welcome to our world, Officer Sun.
Yeah, Grace looks quite impressed actually at this.
And this is, we skipped ahead a bit due to the Treaty of Mintaka. Mintaka 3.
Yes.
Well, we sort of sidled into accidentally calling it Mintaka 4 for a while.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. 5 is right out.
Yes.
Yes, so that was an homage by Ben Browder in reference to executive producer and sometimes writer Ricky Manning. Frunium, much beloved on the internet still, who wrote an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where the planet Mintaka 3 features.
Yeah.
It's the one with the proto-Vulcan species.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but How is this relevant to this episode specific? I mean, we're talking about it now, but...
Well, because Ben Browder,
Does he actually say Mintaka here?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
It's toward the end. It's toward the end when he says these stars already have names, and he says, yeah, well...
Mintaka 3 sounds boring to me anyway. It's...
Oh, I missed that. I mean, I just heard Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Okay, so I must have sounded like a complete weirdo as I was.
What are you on about? Okay.
There's another little subtle homage dropped in here at one point where Aaron sort of looks out and says, "No, I don't see anything."
Still nothing. Pitch black.
Pitch Black is a film that she appeared in 1999. But yes, this is where Stark delivers the news. Oh no, it's terrible. You're definitely going to die if you get swallowed through. Talyn panics. Crace tries to calm him down, and then Crace screams and collapses and...
Yeah, and that doesn't really come back. I mean, at this point, I get the feeling that it was Talyn doing that.
Yeah.
Because Talyn really wants Aaron as the captain. Like, Talyn's being like, okay, now you're my favorite parent now.
Well, okay, interesting. So what's happening here is Talyn is panicking. Crace is trying to command him to stop. And like a teenager with a tantrum, he essentially kicks his dad. Like,
yeah.
He uses his... I mean, this is the point that some people encounter in their lives where, hey, the people that were physically like stronger and bigger than me are no longer. I've grown, and I can kick you around.
Yep.
And in moments of stress, that's something that he does. He kicks Crace down and then forces him to do his bidding. Because John walks in, sees Aaron, they try to explain the situation. Hey, where's Crace?
And
Aaron
Crace is gone, yeah.
He's at the airlock. They surmise he's about to...
unhook the cables.
Yep. And why would he do that? Well, turns out he's compelled by Talyn.
Talyn is basically puppeteering him around.
And he can't do that to Aaron. That's part of the modifications.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
Or at least that's what Crace claims.
Yeah. Rygel, again, for the second or third time, tries to make a run for it because Stark has decided that, okay, we're going to make the budong throw up. So we're going to plake electromagnetic candy for him, make him swallow a lot of ice. Talyn's going to dump out his cesium fuel, and then we're going to set that on fire, and that like big fireball, and it's going to make him throw up. That's the plan.
Which I can understand that Talyn is not super convinced by, because it is a big old explosion, but it is a decent plan. It does require a big old explosion that Talyn currently can't produce because his cannon's offline.
But fortunately, the harpoons they had used earlier on also had warheads. We just have to set them off.
I kind of love, that's one of those, normally you describe it as an ass pull, but they were described as Tag 5 torpedoes. These were destructive rockets that they attached a cable to because that was handy right now.
Yes, kind of like harpoons, except without the cable, and the cable was on top of that. It makes sense. It didn't feel like they were trying to wing it. I mean, for if they hadn't been planning that from the beginning in the episode, then they could have found something else, like docking cables or something else to make the lines with, or even the umbilical that Talyn uses to connect to Moya with.
Good point.
Something like that. So, no, I wouldn't call that an ass pull. I'd say that was definitely
it's completely earned,
plot
right?
plant.
It's really well thought through.
Yeah.
But it's up to John to stop Crace from releasing those cables.
Yeah.
He threatens Crace with a gun.
Yes, he convinces Aaron to give her pulse pistol to him because Winona still is missing.
Oh, yeah.
Runs through the corridors. Aaron has to exert her control on Talyn to actually get him to open the door.
And Crace, this is where he actually taunts John.
I see you found a weapon. What do you intend to do with it? Shoot me?
That's one option.
Of course it is. We've come full circle, John Crichton. Now you want to kill me?
Then don't make my day.
because
he's in agonizing pain and he's actually begging for death.
John to shoot him, yes. Because apparently the thing between him and Talyn is a bit of a uncomfortable relationship at certain points, especially for Crace, who is covered in lesions and sores, which happens when they disagree and he tries to resist what Talyn's doing. It was a little bit unclear what exactly caused those.
Talyn can punish Crace.
Right.
Can physically, it's like cybernetic bleed back. Yeah, I guess it's when suddenly your child is 50 centimeters taller than you are.
Yeah.
And they can actually bully you around. Like, what a complicated situations all around.
Aaron manages to shut it down by ripping out a few cables and zapping it into Talyn's neurocluster. It's a bit of a It's the overhead plate with some ovals and circles on it. And zapping him like that basically puts him to sleep.
I love that she uses her fantastic jacket to wrap around these live wires.
Yeah.
Yes, an insulator.
Very good.
Very good. Especially when you're standing inside a gigantic conductor.
I guess she's starting to learn her tech thing.
See, Aaron, you're actually a tech.
Yeah.
And I also respected that John chooses not to shoot Grace.
I guess he sees what's going on.
Do you think so? Or do you think
Or
that
maybe
he's
he
just
just, like-
holding on to...
Maybe. He definitely has a talk with him at this point about all the bullshit that's been going on.
Wake up, Bylar.
Finally, the two men are really communicating with each other. Grace is vulnerable. He's without his clothes under the covers. You can see it huddling them to himself.
This is where we see his quarters, by the way, which still have the peacekeeper like symbols on the wall, and it's all done in red and
gorgeous
black.
boudoir. Yeah. It's funny how John has to sleep in a sort of cubbyhole in a corridor, but the captain still gets palatial quarters.
Well, as we heard the last time, the guest quarters hadn't been grown yet.
Oh, yeah, true. Grace is confronted with the fact, you're not going anywhere. We have to solve this problem. Unfortunately, they can't get a lot more help from Stark because Rygel has chosen to swallow one of the essential components.
Yeah, he yanked something out of the console and he swallows it.
A comms relay or something.
Yeah, but no harm, no foul. Stark goes and just goes on with his own plan anyway.
Yep. Turning on, continuing to describe their little pod as electromagnetic candy.
Yes.
Electromagnetic candy.
Flying low over the ice with the pod turned on to maximum, trying to coax the budong to chasing them, basically opening its mouth like a big whale trying to get a bunch of krill, but instead getting all those nice little icy particles from the rings.
Which is one component of the two-component milkshake of destruction that they're trying to create. The other being cesium, which Talyn can release. But it is important that the warheads are released and charged and activated so that the explosion can take place and Talyn can ride the shockwave and the inverse peristaltics to freedom.
Burped out.
And who has to do that? Well, John, of course.
Yes. He has to go out there, pull his way along the cables, and push the right buttons on the harpoons. And they'll have 500 microts after he does that before the things explode.
And then Talyn cuts off communications.
I think he's already messing with the communication because he says that the green one arms the explosions and the blue one releases the cable. But I believe that later on, when it actually comes to the point, we see John pressing the green button, which releases the cable, much to his surprise.
John, answer me.
Releasing cable now.
The thing that I noticed was, hey, there's 3 blue lights.
4, actually.
Oh, there's more? Yeah,
I think
great.
there's 3 on one side and 1 on the other. But yeah, it's lots of blue lights. Like, which one? Maybe anyone,
Yeah, also, relying on color coding alone, a lot of people are colorblind or...
Blue-green is also, culturally speaking, can be difficult to distinguish between linguistic... Not all languages have a distinction between blue and green.
Right, yeah. But, Grace is back on the bridge. Did he change jackets? I think he did. I think he's wearing his little velour number now.
Commander jacket, yes.
Yeah, I like that.
The plan goes off to hitch. The budong starts swallowing large amounts of ice. Grace is poised to tell Talyn to release his 70% of his cesium fuel.
Yep. And the chargers have been primed.
And set. And John is making his way back to the ship despite the fact that the cable came loose.
Yep. Which doesn't work. The door is closed.
Well, it closes right in front of him. When he gets there, it's still open, and he tries to swing around, and it gets smashed shut right in front of his face, presumably by Talyn again.
Yep. Because when Erin uses her senses, her connection to Talyn, to see what's what,
Talyn lies to her.
Yep.
Because he shows it like, no, there's nobody out there. No, really honest. There's nobody in front of the airlock. No, it's empty. It's open. Look, door's open. There's nobody in here.
And your Talyn impersonation is fantastic. I love that. Because even when she realizes that Talyn's, she thinks that Talyn spaced John.
Yeah.
And Talyn's actually quite comfortable. I'll take that on the chin, as long as we both agree that he's not here.
Yeah,
and
he's not coming back, yes.
It's such a bad plan, but that's a teenager for you, right?
Right, yes. With a little bit more information, you can see right through it. Which she actually does manage to do. She manages to convince him to show her the truth anyway.
Do you think that she does it or that she convinces him to? I mean, she asks for the truth.
Yes.
Which I guess is an appeal to his honor.
And I can't quite remember what makes her not believe what she's saying at first, because Talyn's blocking the comms.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure why she's unwilling to believe that this is true. Has anything occurred that's made her reluctant to take Talyn's word?
It may be that she doesn't believe that John will just die like a chump.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So she doesn't believe that he'd die off screen.
Yeah. That's a bit meta, but yeah, okay.
They even had that conversation where she talks to him about, like...
I had this life. I liked it. It had rules. I followed the rules. And that made everything right. And then you come along and you throw everything up. This strange human with... arrogance, stubbornness.
Tom.
Let me finish. You saw the recording and you didn't say a word. You are like a plague, John Crichton, and you have ruined my life. And yet I just keep coming back.
And also, like, the corollary to that
I
is
can't
keeps...
quit you.
Oh.
Wait, wrong.
And I guess there's also a bit of familial intuition. Like, a parent can tell when their child is lying.
I suppose so,
because
yeah.
children are not usually very good at lying. They haven't had a lot of practice. And just the whole sort of systemic context of all the things that you normally say and how you normally behave and all of that. Like, there's just... As an adult, you have certain advantages there. Then again, kids are quite capable of getting away with Dren.
Yeah, last second rescue as she opens the hatch. John gets pulled in. The charges explode. The water and cesium explodes even more.
Beautiful, beautiful effect.
And they get burped out by the budong.
And it's feelings that solve this problem. Like, Erin has run down to the access hatch where she's on one door, and on the opposing door, that's where John is. And she's done commanding Talyn, and instead, I thought it was really interesting. So she shares a feeling with him that we don't see visually.
Uh-huh.
And she explains to him that this is something that you will never feel, and that is to need someone.
Ah, yes.
Right? That she needs John in the way that Talyn does not need her.
Talyn, I want you to share something with me. Before he dies, you can taste something that is denied to peacekeepers. Something that you will never know. Can you feel that? Good.
Yeah, okay.
Which
that makes sense.
Is an incredible... I mean,
it's a lot of projection, and I'm presuming that she knows how Leviathans work.
Yeah, it might be like an intuitive leap. Yeah. But I felt that she was really meeting Talyn where he is because, yeah, this is not a part of his emotional lexicon.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Right, maybe that, like, saying that he will never feel that is a bit of a stretch. I think it's a bit presumptuous, but it's something that, yeah, that's not a part of it. So she removes the connection. Like, you don't need me. I need John. Like, these relationships can't be manipulated.
No.
I know. I'm just really hung up on the feelings part, but I forgot just how good this episode was. That I haven't even been talking about, like, the fantastic set design. You were the one who remarked on that. Oh, yeah. They redesigned Talyn's command for this. Sorry, didn't change the design at all, but they rebuilt it just so it would be easier to move around, right? Different components can come apart, so there's more places for lights and cameras.
Yeah. Chris tells Talyn to turn on the docking web to capture the pod, and they get brought in, and then it cuts to a scene where Chris is explaining to Erin what happened. He hands her the USB stick and shows her what's on it, and someone looks like Talyn has been showing John certain things which aren't exactly necessarily true. Yes.
Creative. You know, there's a bit of ambiguity there. Because it almost sounded like some of these images are really quite recreative.
Maybe they're like he'd been doing a little photoshopping of his own and like making some interesting.
And Erin walks up to John, who is sitting on his bunk, and he's got a real sulk going on. He's sort of swinging his legs over the edge. He looks so... I mean, no, that's mean. He's wounded. He's dealing with a lot of feelings. And she approaches him with the same kind of respect and demanding of respect that she does with Talyn as well. Like, she tells Jon, hey, you know this is fake, right?
Yeah, and he goes like, is it? And if it is, it doesn't matter. It's like, because it shouldn't matter, because like you can do whatever the hell you want. And she's...
Because I'm not your boyfriend, I'm not your husband, I'm not your anything. You can do what you want.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of back to that. We're just like, are we backing off again? That again? But yes.
It's interesting because he's sulking, but he's also respecting her space.
Yes.
Right? I have no ownership over this. And her position, I think, is coming from, well, yes, all of that's true. I could have totally recreated with Craze, but I would have told you.
Yeah, if that had happened, yes. Well, that makes sense, yeah.
Because she needs him. It's something that she apparently can say to Talyn easier than she can say to Jon.
And that makes sense for Aaron's character.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's easier, like... It goes back to the whole recreating thing. Like, you're not supposed to have personal feelings for people.
Then again, like, recreating across sort of power dynamics is maybe not so cool.
No.
I can imagine that that's frowned upon.
It makes sense, yeah. No, totally. But, yeah, technically neither of them are peacekeepers anymore, so...
So, Aaron explains to Jon how she feels about him.
Mm-hmm.
Abstractly, as usual. This is where she says, you're a plague and I still keep coming back.
Yeah.
And he explains his feelings toward her, also in the abstract, by coming full circle and showing her something that he's apparently been working on since season 1.
We get star charts!
Star charts!
Yay! It's like, oh my god, yes, finally, thrilling star charts.
Star charts.
Star chart.
And what does it look like? Crinkly recycled wrapping paper.
Yep.
What's even on there? There's nothing on there.
Just some random dots, and that's when he starts naming stars like Huey, Dewey, and Louie. But I didn't catch him in talk. I must have been writing something down at the time.
Well, yes. So he says that this is something that he always does. He gives them names, and she says, "You already have names." And he says, "Yeah, but Mintaka 3 sounds boring to me."
Apparently, he has one that he keeps coming back to, which is his reference star, and I call it Aaron.
Which is nice, but it makes no fucking sense.
No, I mean, it depends.
Like,
unless that's like a star that's really super far away, and he's like decided like they can pretty much see that from wherever that they are.
How would you know?
I mean, context. You can do a little bit of drift. If you have an idea which way you're going, then you can like do some star plotting drift, and you can see like other stars. Like if you have roughly an idea how far you've gone, and you have got another big bright star, then you go like, okay, that still kind of looks there. And those 3 stars around it have kind of shifted.
Yes,
that makes sense.
But Dougal, these stars are small.
Exactly.
And the ones out there are far away. So when you're like, if we get a light year away from the sun, heck, if we get to the orbit of Pluto, the sun will look like a bright star.
Yeah,
a little bit brighter than
Quite
Polaris.
A bit brighter, but yeah.
Well, okay, so you get a few more AUs out.
Well,
right?
But that's the whole point. That star might as well be a galaxy, which is somewhere
also
else.
True.
So that's not going to change very much in intensity over any local star burst that Moya does.
No, but a close star would.
Right.
Just the practice of like looking out the window and looking for the brightest thing, and then assuming that is the same as a bright thing that you saw
of course
before,
not.
right?
I mean, you have to get some context in there.
But man, it's beautiful.
It is. And they kiss in, it's like, oh, they kiss over the star, and it's like, oh, lovey-dovey, and it's like, that's too much marital bliss for any good. That's like something horrible is going to happen. It's like, can't have that. Yeah.
I was going to call you a cynic, but you have seen a lot of Farscape by now. Okay, now... We've discussed this episode, and now we move on to these segments, and we're doing this on our new mixing system, thanks to our Patreon subscribers for funding this. It's got these buttons, see? And I've loaded them with sound effects. I just don't know which one is which anymore.
Oh, so that's going to be lovely.
I think that one is the opening title, so I'm not going to do that one. So I'm going to try, let's see what this one is.
I think the third one is the one we want.
Yeah, you're right. That was number 2.
Yeah.
Should have used that at a different point.
Yeah.
Okay, now the third one, and then...
She gives me a woody.
There we go.
She gives you the willies.
Yeah!
All right.
I even sort of mixed in a little music there. Finally.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, hold on. Quiz.
Yeah.
Do you know where that's from?
Oh.
She gives me a woody.
She gives you the willies.
It sounds a little bit North African. Like, oh, no.
Okay, so this is fun. That's the music that played during the episode where this clip is from. It's with the sort of red tannet root people on sidecar.
Right.
Huh. I guess I didn't need to mix them separately. That music is actually playing while they're saying that. Huh.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Willie's Woodies.
My Woody definitely goes to the DRD. I love that DRD.
Oh, nice.
He is amazing. I like him. He's got the cool tools and the cool little sparky blue lights and the little red carpus which is like multi-segmented. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
He sort of reminded me of K9 from Doctor Who, the
Yes,
little robot dog.
I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, very much so.
Do you want to nickname him?
Oh, let me muse on that.
All right, no, fine. You can brood on that for a bit. I'm sure we'll see those DRDs again. And how about your Willy?
Willy. Oh, that's going to be harder. Oh, Willy. Willy goes to the way the budong beaches itself or jumps up and down like Free Willy through the ice rings of the whatever the name of this planet is called.
Sesharim.
That's the broken moon of Sesharim.
You're quite right.
Yeah, it's free budong. All it needs is like Rygel standing there with his finger up in the air as the budong jumps over him or something.
Now I get it. Oh, it's so hard to choose. I love every aspect of this episode. I remember really liking this episode. I didn't remember it being this good. Just consistently, start to finish, so tight, so beautiful. I don't know what I'm going to... All right, I'm going to just scrub through here and just drop my finger on a random gif, and that'll be my favourite. Okay, it's the puke. Apparently I really like Rygel's puke. Yeah, that's tricky, because that would have been my Willy, but apparently, no. Apparently, I love the puke.
Well, let's just say that you picked wrong and that is your Willy, and now you can go.
Oh, okay, now I'm going to... Okay, so
you picked your Willy first, and that was the puke scene.
And...
No, it's the puke again.
It's the puke again. Okay, well, this is not going to work.
Well, that's okay. So the episode is your Willy, I suppose. Woody, I suppose.
Oh God, yes! This whole episode, I loved it so much. Fantastic job by Ben Browder. Like, it showed actually, that'll be my Woody. Ben Browder showed an understanding of these characters and their relationships that is really quite tricky to both respect where they are without like alienating new viewers, without boring existing loyal viewers.
Going into too much into fanboy territory.
Right. Still moving them into position. Like, it's a really tricky balance to strike, and he did just a fantastic job.
Cool. So, and that's the story so Farscape.
That was the fourth button. That was the fourth button.
The fourth button. The fourth sensation. We have just experienced it. Join us next week for another reading of Tales of the Uncharted Territories.
Oh, yes. I don't know what I'm going to pick yet. We'll be asking for suggestions. If you have a suggestion for a fanfic that you'd like us to read during one of the Tales of the Uncharted Territories, please send us your suggestions at sofarscape.com/fanfic. And after that, we'll be returning to Farscape with Season 3, Episode 9, Losing Time,
in which someone on the crew is carrying a parasitic energy rider.
That's it. That's all the synopsis we get.
Okay.
That's all we need. Thank you for joining us. We're at SoFarscape on Facebook and Twitter. Oh, yes, synopses. We need lots of synopses for the rest of Season 3. You can send those at sofarscape.com/submit. And if you want to help keep the lights on and fund perhaps the next set of buttons, I don't know. That's sofarscape.com/support. Once again, thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers for making this possible. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.